For black people, you need to stay on top. It's what needs to happen, what is not happening, and what needs to happen. Because it's very important that we vote, and we put our votes out there, that our numbers will count, that they will look at our numbers and say, those people have finally woke up and they're out voting, and we'd better pay attention to them. And that's how you get attention paid to you, is by voting. Your vote is your voice.
Reverend McCullough was the patriarch of this community. Now, I understand that patriarchy has a bad name in certain circles, but he was a patriarch in the sense of being a founding father, being a respected leader that everyone deferred to. At first, nobody was sure exactly how old Reverend McCullough was. Eventually, we determined he was probably 94 years old, but he was remarkably vigorous. I don't know exactly how many children he fathered. I think it was close to 20. His first wife died, and we met his second wife. But we stayed in his home. And one of the things I noticed in the bedroom was there was a rifle in the corner of the room by the windows. And the next morning, I asked Reverend McCullough. He said, Reverend McCullough, I thought this was a nonviolent movement. Reverend McCullough says, well, you know, them Ku Kluxers, they burned a church, the St. John's Church nearby. And it wasn't long after that I heard my dog Wolf was barking outside the window, and I took my rifle and I fired a few shots out in them bushes, and those Ku Kluxers ain't bothered me since.
The March on Washington was an all-day event, and those of us who were organizers were told to get there very early. It was still dark when we got there, and there was fog covering all of the grounds. You could not see anything. There were just little pieces of people here and there getting things ready. We had a booth, a square booth, and lots of boxes had already been placed there, and others that we brought with us, full of paper. I don't know how many trees were sacrificed for this effort. We had to stack the paper on the, not shelves, but sort of tables that made a square, because we were the information table for people who had come to the march.
The black kids were not allowed to go to the movies, use the library, even buy books. They could use Woolworths, that was about it. I remember I wanted some books for my teaching, and I went into the only little bookstore, and the guy who was Jewish, you know, I was talking to him, and I told him I wanted to buy a couple books. He said, I can't sell them to you. I said, why? He said, because I have to live in this town. And if I sold these books to you, they would know, and then I'd be in trouble. And that's when it really got home to me. What it really meant was that he, you know, he was living a perfectly nice life, but he was not really free in any real, you know, form that. And he did not sell me any books, you know, he would not. And you could buy books in Woolworths, but those are all penny novels, you know, nothing of any substance. So it was pretty rough, you know.
There was this man named Eddie Posey who owned a taxi stand. And there was always so many people at this one office that he had. And so one day I just stopped in there to see what was going on and ask if I could do anything to help. And so, sure, I could do something to help. So they allowed me to volunteer. Yeah, and so I call it a go for. Go do this, go do that, pick up that, take this here, sweep up, clean up, sort papers, whatever there was to do in the space, I could do that. And then sometimes I would help walk people home with their groceries, help them to carry their stuff, that kind of thing. And, it was exciting for me. I felt a part of what was going on, although I didn't really know in my mind how significant it was and what was actually happening, but it felt good. I felt like I wanted to help. And so I did that for about, I would think, 6 or 8 weeks.
I did go with my roommate and 2 of our friends who lived on the same hall with us to the local theater, which was right off campus. And we asked for 4 tickets together, and he was saying, well, you have to sit downstairs and you have to sit upstairs. And we said, well, we'll sit upstairs if you won't let them sit downstairs. And he looked at us, and he looked at us, and he looked, and he finally says, oh, hell, go ahead. And after that, people were able to go to the theater with their friends, and it didn't matter. It was just a little movie theater.
My proudest work as a lawyer in St. Louis was on behalf of a group called Black Survival. It's run by a woman named Freddie Mae Brown. And what that group, with my help, did was basically prevent the powers that be from splitting the black community in two with a highway. And that was also an education to me, because I got to interview every expert in town about why that would be a disaster for the black community.
Mom and Dad were at this meeting one night when the guest speaker was Father Tom Wallace, the principal of Salesiana. And one of the principals of the officer of the Catholic Interracial Council told Father Lawless about, there's a young man here who's going to Philadelphia every morning so he can get a Catholic education. And Father Lawless says, that shouldn't be. And he said, well, by the way, his parents are here. So I was told his parents, he came over to talk to my parents and told my parents I want that boy in my office tomorrow morning. And Dad came home and told me.
Well, Luke was a very nurturing, incredibly nurturing person. He had taken all of us siblings under his wing, and I'll read you some of the letter that he wrote to home.
Please.
So at the top, it said, I'm in a restaurant without paper and feel like writing, so I shall use napkins and hope that you can read what I write. So he had a pencil and he was writing on napkins, and this was a common occurrence. Luke was always writing, always taking notes, writing, and he was often writing on, paper towels, napkins, whatever he could find. Dear family, I'm through with finals and did well on all of them, including genetics. Tomorrow I'll spend the day with Alex, our sister, and then it will be 2 weeks of preparation for boards. I feel well prepared after 3 years of hard grinding and don't anticipate much problem with the exams. I am going to Mississippi. You want reasons why, so I'll give you a few. I wrote in my application for SNCC that I wanted Negroes to have equal opportunities. This is the obvious reason that anybody works for civil rights, because the Negroes have been cruelly deprived of their rights. The state of Mississippi has neglected its responsibility to its Negro citizens, and therefore it is necessary for outsiders to remind them that the rest of the nation is concerned and won't stand for any more subjugation of the Negroes.
It was a lot of science that we learned from him that we weren't getting in our own schools. And he just taught different things. And as I said, we went through the science program, and when it got to the talk about parts of the human body and stuff like that, we had a very in-depth part of it where Luke was concerned. He actually brought in a heart from, I don't know, a cow, I believe. And we learned all the parts of it, how it worked, how it functioned. Because at that time, we only knew that you've got blood in here and your heart pumps the blood. And when he started explaining it, how it went, that's where we got into the problem of it, you know? Everything, including how it pumps, how many valves we had and all that. It was really good. He was soft-spoken, laid back, but he knew a lot of stuff.
You know, really compassionate, and he just paid attention to us, listened to us, you know, and read to us. He actually stood on the floor with us, you know, and that's why we thought that he was our age. I mean, I was, 12, 13, and I, at that time, didn't realize that, we didn't realize he was a white boy. We knew he was a white boy, but he was just a compassionate young man, and we just loved him. And when we first met him, he presented himself as a really compassionate, caring. You could tell he cared about you no matter your color. He just cared about the person. And that's what I liked about him.
We had the whole city outlined in terms of neighborhoods that we needed to go door to door. And then we also, and this was in a certain sense against the advice of our leaders, but we said, no, we have to think about the people that don't live in the city. There's this whole county. This is an entire county. I forget what the name of the county was, but we actually organized going out into rural districts and gathering in churches and talking at least about why it would be important to vote and how it would be possible to do it, recognizing some of the challenges that are going to be presented to any black person trying to register to vote in 1962 in Jackson, Tennessee. And, you know, there, and especially in light of what happened in Mississippi, you know, I think about the fact that, you know, we were white, well, because we had students from the college who joined us. Okay. So that we didn't go out to these church meetings as just a group of white kids. We went out to these church meetings in these places in the county as a group of black and white, you know, the volunteers from the AFSC and then students from Lane who would join us in this activity. So we were mixed carloads of black and white students driving around this county late at night. And as I have said to Paul on other occasions, you know, I think there's a big difference between Tennessee and Mississippi. I mean, Tennessee is a border state. It's not I don't think it's as violent as Mississippi, but I think we were scared. I mean, we were aware of the risk we were taking in violating such a powerful custom of the time that you know, you just didn't have white kids and black kids in a car together driving around in the countryside at night.
I love working with young people, you know, because they're willing to learn and to understand what you've been through, and I want them to feel good about themselves. And you know, if I had any advice at all, would be to find look within yourself, find things in there that are really good about you, and feel that you are valued, that you are important, but that you have responsibility. And that's as both, blacks and whites, any people in the community, they have a responsibility to know history. That is crucial, because then you understand how we got to where we are now. And if you're going to work to change it, you need to know that. And unfortunately, we're now in a period where they're trying to get us to remove history lessons from our schools. And I think that's very dangerous. Both black kids and white kids and all other kids need to understand that history. And then I think you will find the power to assert yourself and make sure other people respect you as you respect yourself.
Yeah, when Al and I went down, we stayed with a Mrs. Howard, who I thought of her at the time as being probably in her 40s or 50s, but she may not have been. She worked in a cigar factory, and she was out of the house by 4 o'clock in the morning. And she had 2 children, Cynthia and it's Boo. It's a very typical black name, not black name, Southern boy, Bubba. Yeah, I was thinking. And she let us stay in the house, and she gave us a bedroom and everything else. I don't even know where she slept.
She slept with the children.
Probably. I don't know. I mean, I just remember that. And not only that, but she would come back from this job where she was working for nothing, and she would make these meals for us. And you really felt like you wanted to say to her, "We'll eat out," or we'll enough of a burden. Exactly. And I remember that the day of the march, she prepared a packed lunch for both of us, to go along on the march. We were in touch with her for a long period of time. For several years, I would say, after that. She was, and I am sorry that I didn't didn't get there to go down and walk and go to see if she was there. I did ask a woman who was just opposite Brown's Chapel whether she knew of Mrs. Howard when we were down for the anniversary.
And did she?
No. Well, I don't know.
Now, I understand that you were arrested while you were trying to support black voter registration. Talk to us a little bit about that. How did that happen? What happened? How many of you were arrested?
Sure. There were, I believe, 2 days scheduled by the county for voter registration. So we got people who agreed to go voter registration. We accompanied them. We stayed in the courthouse for 8 hours each of the 2 days, and a couple of people actually got in to the registrar's office, but no one was actually registered. And it was kind of more or less what was expected. We had meetings with our comrades from the community, mostly young people, trying to decide what we're going to do. And we decided that on the second day we were going to sit in and refuse to leave the courthouse when they closed up. And so it was a total of about 16 people who decided to commit themselves to be arrested. We knew that the consequence of refusing to leave would be arrested. So that's what we did, and we were arrested, went to jail overnight, and we were arrested, I think, on disorderly conduct or one of those silly charges. And SCLC bailed us out the next day.